everyone to the DRS zone for Formula 1000. We just finished watching the race in Shanghai this morning, and it wasn't as exciting as I thought, but the build up to it and having 1,000 races, it makes me just think of all the past, present, and future Formula drivers, and from where they started to where they've come now, especially in terms of safety. It's something pretty special.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's just a cool event that there's been 1,000 World Championship races, and we can start going with Shanghai, China, 1,000.
Yeah, at midnight for us local time.
That's right. We watched it in the morning because we're fuddy-duddies and we like sleep.
Yep. But not overrated.
Not overrated. But we just finished, and we're going to just do quickly the race review here. First thing is, the was a little unexpected was the weather, right? So it was a little cool over for the race. And then the other thing with it too, I was excited for the race because China's known for a lot of passing. A lot of shit goes down.
Yes, and it's happened every year. There's been a lot of good passings, and there's a lot of crazy zones because of the load that happens on those front tires. Teams go out and there's lockups. As we even saw in the formation lap, there were 2 people that spun in the formation lap, which gives you a good idea of actually the air temperature outside, which I think was about 20 degrees. That's pretty cold for those tires, and no matter how well they can heat them up, there were 2 still spins in the formation lap.
Yeah.
So I thought the start was going to be all over the place.
Spoiler alert, those were really the only spins. Which after that formation, I'm like, oh man, we're in for a show today. But the guys held it together, which was kind of nice. Qualifying wise, we had top 10 were team lockouts. First was Mercedes, then was Ferrari, then was Red Bull, then was Renault, which is actually good to see them.
Yeah, good to see them all the way through.
Yeah, and rounding out was Haas. Interesting with Haas, they didn't actually race Q3 at all. They just put no times in and took 9 and 10 based off their Q2 performance. Which
was really weird. I can't remember the last race where we've had those kind of positions for each of the teams so just in order.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not all over the place, not mixed, just one team after another, after another, after another, after another, and then everyone was a little mixed up after that. But
yeah. Well, it kind of shows like their team ranking where they've been so far this year too. It's been Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, but the real nice one to see was Renault moving up and Haas looking good there. So let's get to the start of the race after the formation lap and the multi-spins. Opening lap, Kvyat starts to go straight Takumi, Tokyo Drift, Initial D style, and he goes, I know like the McLarens.
Yeah, and tries to counter out that drift that he's doing. Cue the Tokyo Drift music. Yeah, there we go. Oh, I'm getting word we don't have that.
Okay.
No, okay. But you guys know what we mean. The Tokyo Drift music right when they enter the garage. That's what Kvyat did. Tried to counter steer and not only hit one but both McLaren cars.
Yeah, which is really bad luck for McLaren.
Yeah, and it damaged his car, but we didn't know that until way later in the race. We thought at first, but he managed to get in 90% of that race before they pitted him, and there we go.
So the other thing that happened after that, with the first, obviously there was a virtual safety car. They got everything kind of sorted out. Hamilton took the lead right off the hop and made no mistake with it. The way right to the end.
No.
The other stuff that happened a little bit in the backfield was Perez and Stroll from Racing Point. First couple laps put in some work, and they moved up the grid. The interesting thing with Stroll, he has not got out of Q3 Q1, right, out forever. He just sits there in the 15th to 20th all the time, which is really kind of frustrating because he has great race skills. He passes guy, he moves up, he does a lot of great work during the race. I'm like, man, if you could just get in that 10 to 15 range, it would really benefit you quite a bit. But he sucks, on the time side.
He moves up during the race, and he does a great job at that, albeit with the trying to decide where they're going to change tires for how many stops they're going to do. But he always moves up. So if he can just start a little bit further, even close to that top 10, he'll start getting in the points.
Yeah, for sure. After that, Hamilton reports he's got a little bit of vibration, but still whips out a fastest lap. And like I said, he makes no mistakes there at all. Lap 12, Haas and Hulkenberg, they kind of shit the bed and drop back. They dropped pretty far back at that point. They were like almost last in the race.
Yeah, and it was weird how it happened. Sometimes they have issues with the transmitters from the cars, so we're watching the feed, and then there's cars jumping all over the place. And then after about 30 seconds, they all kind of even out, and there were some of them that had gone down in place, obviously. But it really had to do with that cold weather, as they talked about.
I think so. Also, interesting tire choice. There was soft, medium, and hard, and it was like an anti-soft type of race just because of the weather.
Yeah,
And also the pit strategy too. And there was pit strategies going with we're going to try for one, but maybe two, depending on
yeah,
et cetera,
and it was
et cetera.
mostly most of the teams started with softs from qualifying, and then went right to hard.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
as the race progressed,
mediums after.
we went right back to mediums.
Lap 12. We talked about Hulse and Hulkenberg. Right after that, Ferrari's trying to figure out who is faster for third. And both those guys are kind of locking up all over the place. Vettel passes Leclerc, and then Leclerc's right on his ass again.
And then calling the radio saying, hey, he's slowing me down. I think that's going to be a theme for Ferrari this year, because it's already happened in both the other races, is one racer's going to be or feel that he is slightly quicker than the other one, and they're going to call the team to be able to pass, and the team's going to say, niet, and just race.
Yeah,
Don't hit each other,
but just race.
but just race. And then see who's faster. And then depending on tire strategy, what they switched, pitted Vettel first and then Leclerc after, thinking that they wanted to run him out and run those tires as long as they could.
Yeah.
Still worked out for them fine, but there's going to be that in the first number of laps, they're going to be right on each other. And it's going to be nice to watch that
Well, for sure.
back and forth.
Hulkenberg retires lap 18, and Verstappen pits and puts on hards. And that was, we found like a theme that was all through that first pit, was putting on those hards.
Yeah,
Right
and
away.
that was all within the first 15 and 20 laps for a lot of those teams, because they were already finding how hard that course is on the tires, that it was already becoming a two-stop strategy.
Yeah. Well, lap 19, this is where it gets interesting. Vettel pits, puts on hards to get ahead of Verstappen, does it properly, does the undercut, gets ahead, stays ahead, which is really nice. And then they're battling pretty hard. And Leclerc stays out for what looks like a one pit strategy, but doesn't end up like a one pit strategy. He goes into two. And so there's going to be definitely questions at Ferrari. If I was Leclerc, like, well, why didn't I do a two pit right away? Like, what was the logic behind that? What was the race strategy team? Like, why did that happen?
Yeah.
Because that cost him a place
It did,
over the course of that race.
to Verstappen, right? Because he finished fifth.
Bottas pits lap 22, followed by Hamilton on the next lap. Both hard tires for a one-stop strategy. That's what it kind of looks like, or for the option for a one-stop strategy. Leclerc pits after that, and it ends up behind Verstappen.
And that was kind of the theme for those top six, because Ricardo,
Stayed in
I
seventh.
can't remember if he started seventh exactly. I just can't remember right now. But he stayed in seventh for the whole race, which was awesome. That not only that Renault finished the race, that car, and he got some points, because Hulkenberg didn't. And once again had engine problems. But thankfully Ricardo's car did everything it needed to. And he raced good and kept up good pace, because Perez was right behind him, but could never quite catch him.
That's right. After that, the race just settles out. Lap 36 and lap 36 is the where Vettel and Verstappen pit back to back on each other, and they're still battling. But lap 37, the double entendre pit by Mercedes, just boom, boom.
Which was something that I've never seen before, at least not that close. I've seen other teams do on the same lap, having both cars come in, but Hamilton and Bottas were 5 seconds apart. So Hamilton comes in first, and because the team had to deal with two sets of tires, they do his about 3.2 seconds, I think.
It's just low
and
threes,
Bottas is cruising in behind him right as Hamilton leaves, and gets his tires on, and they're both out. I've never seen anything like it, and it was
Amazing. I should have watched the coordination and the team skill. Like, no one got slowed down.
and no tires were stuck, and no jacks were missed, and no
Yeah. Golf
improper
clap.
tire. Oh yeah,
Golf clap. Well done, Mercedes.
well done on this Masters Sunday. That for sure deserves a golf clap.
For sure. After that, Bottas and Leclerc battle for second, lap 40. It was probably the best battle of the race. Great passing. Leclerc defense skills were on point. Like, he held up Bottas for a lap.
Yep.
For
Yeah,
a
and
lap.
we've seen that on a couple of other races so far. And then, of course, right after that, he starts to lose pace a little bit, and he was worried about something with the car, but he still finished in fifth after that second pit stop, where they, of course, we talked about that strategy. They pitted him way later, so he still got points, but I think with a slightly different strategy, they still could have overtaken Verstappen, but they just it didn't work out that way.
Kvyat is out lap 43, and then here's the last pit. Now at this point, I want to point out Vettel's holding fastest lap all through the race, and then Gasly with 2 laps left to go, lap 54 is like, F this guy. I can pit without losing a place. So he does, and on the last lap, steals it away from Vettel.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, good job, Red Bull. But if I was Ferrari, I'd be pissed.
And
I
that
would
was
be pissed.
Well, that was the strategy that they needed, and they had enough time in between all the other cars, and they weren't going to lose any place. So they said, "Let's just put on this set of softs, and away you go." And he did it. Well done. Had fresh air and got it
Took
done.
fastest lap, and then we get the finish of Hamilton 1, Bottas 2, and Vettel 3rd. Vettel looked a little bit more like his old self. Still looks like he has some room to improve, but good Lord, Mercedes looked good. Like, they were
Yes. Once again, finishing
top 2.
deux.
Yeah, like, even though it is more competitive, Mercedes' skill level is the best.
Well, and
Everything is the
their
best.
cars are on point and their team's on point. I mean,
The drivers-
nothing was more evident of how on point their teams were today than that double pit stop at the same time.
Yeah.
We went back and watched it probably 4 times, and no mistakes were made, and it was perfect. Like, they almost practice it,
Yeah.
which they probably
They
do.
do. Oh, for sure they do. And then you could just see Toto Wolff, and then Dr. Dieter Nietzsche just going there. Yes. We are doing very well, yeah. We plan for every condition.
Yes.
With the Mr. Burns, but they are top of their game. They're running well. Everything's on point. They're all working, and they're working as a team, which wasn't really the case always with Mercedes historically, with Rosberg and Hamilton too, right?
That's right.
But with Bottas and Hamilton, and I think this is a big step up for Hamilton too, because it's him and Bottas who are challenging for the championship, really. But they aren't doing things to mess each other up, which was kind of happening with Rosberg and Hamilton.
Correct.
So Hamilton, I think, has matured competitively too. He's like, I'm going to run my race. Bottas is going to run his race. Things are going to be how they're going to be. I'm not going to screw up the team's performance for my own. I still think Hamilton is the better driver than Bottas. Like, not by a lot, because their cars are so close too. And Bottas is an excellent driver.
Well, and that was very evident after the first race.
That's right.
Where he just destroyed everyone and was up by 25 seconds. So I don't know if that humbled Hamilton a little bit and said, okay, all right, if that's how it's going to be this year, and if it's going to be that close, and I mean, we're only 3 races in, we both know that, but it's been 1-2 each of those 3 races.
I thought Ferrari would be more challenging this year to Mercedes' dominance, but it's the opposite. They are not as competitive as Mercedes is. Mercedes is like, you got the top 3 teams, you got Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull as like their own thing, but really it's Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, everybody else.
And we'll see how the future races go.
That's right.
There's another race in a couple of weeks. We're excited to see that one and every other one that we get to watch this year. It's already off to a great start this season, and the front wings are still super fragile, as we all know, and they just shred like 1,000 pieces, and they're gonna wreck tires and turn things around for certain teams as I know that the season progresses. And on to the next one.
Yep. So for next week, or next race, sorry, I'm going to be in Europe. So Scotty's going to be piloting the show. I do plan to be back for the race after that. I'm still gonna watch it while I'm in Europe. I'm still gonna have fun and do that. But yeah, it's exciting. We're looking forward to it. Thanks for for watching, staying tuned, like, subscribe, all the same standard jazz that everyone talks about when you have a YouTube show. Like and subscribe. But realistically, we just hope that you like our content and can support us. All right. Other than that, this is Stretch.
And this is Scotty. Enjoy your Masters Sunday, and thanks for watching.
Whoop whoop.